What's up, everybody? We're banging it out today. Who was first today? Ted. First to the chat, Ted with 343 rocks. I agree. If I do say so myself. Martin Crockett checking in. Damon Regains from California, big hello. Will Joseph, hey, nice to have you back. Whisper, everybody in the place, let's go. Prodigy, right? Bill Bancroft, nice to have you here. Deep Sound, hello from Japan. Very nice. Thanks for coming, Deep Sound. Simple Sam is back. New Drexian. And who else is in here? I just want to make sure I get everybody. Oh, I'm all distracted. Let's just pause here for the build-up. This is pretty crucial. I got to hear this. It's the best part, right? Yeah. Wisp is asking if this is a new track. No, this is a remix I did of a track that I did with Oliver Chesler back in the 90s. And this is like early 2000s hard remix of a hard track to begin with, honestly. Got a little bit of play, I think. Yeah, New Drexian here is mentioning the Richie Houghton mix that this was used in. Oh, yeah, no, there was also the one with Sven Väth, right? They did a mix together. It's like a Cocoon mix, I think. Anyway, Marcus Shogu, you're saying some hypnotic raw techno, please. Yes, today is pretty much in that vein, as you can hear. All right. Acid Bat, Soul Machine, Gunther. You never use vocal samples? Yes, you should. Isaac Daubsky from Holland. We got a nice variety we got an interesting cast of characters in the chat. And we're here. Welcome. It's me. It's Techno Saturdays. I've got my glasses on. I am your techno professor. Any of you guys watch any of the YouTube game streamer guys like Epos Vox? I learned a lot from him in terms of like streaming tech and like taking some of the gamer streaming ideas, and you know, you can see kind of I got the cool graphics. Well, I think they're cool, and we got the chat here, and that's about as far as I've gotten. There's all sorts of other fun things you can do with OBS and video production, but I like what I'm doing. It's comfy. Anyway, yeah, so as you could hear from the intro music, it's definitely Techno Saturdays today, and harder edged, kind of banging techno, a little bit of hypnotic vibes, but generally, you know, I'm going for pumping, right? And yeah, so Techno Saturdays is a 343 TV thing, and 343 TV is brought to you by 343 Labs and 343 Everything, 343 Studio. All of the, 343 Pro Sessions. It's the speed of sound. That's what 343 is. The speed of sound at sea level, anyway. And that's where we got our name from. And we do music production courses and private lessons. And we have our online programs and online courses. We have our in-person classes. And I'm all over the place today. What's going on? It must be this crazy, trippy background that's reacting to my voice that's distracting me. Anyway, yeah, so if you want to know more about what we do besides these live streams, and if you like what we do in these live streams and you want to get a little bit deeper, if you're ready to take a step forward in your music production education, you've got the, production courses that we have. We have composition, songwriting, we have synthesis and sound design, we have mixing and mastering. We have our studio online subscription-based program, like Abe calls it, kind of a dojo. You can come in and get feedback, find other people to work with, get some one-on-one time with people like me and Abe and Tetro and all of our other instructors. So yeah, check us out. Links in the description, as always. And anyway, I've got this crazy banging track I'm working on here. This actually started out from a private lesson this week. I have a new private student, and he's working on techno, and he was feeling a little bit limited, and he wants to get a little bit more interesting sounds and more feeling and vibe in the music, and new ways. And so, we were really talking about kind of putting some attitude in it and just experimenting with sounds and just taking whatever you've got and pushing things a little bit. And this is, what I have here is what came out of this lesson. And it was just, from what we were talking about, and we started looking at some ways to get going for, I think it was like, getting the drums to punch harder and getting the bass to rumble more and, getting the vibe to be a certain way, using effects. Actually, that's a big thing, using effects as instruments. And, he was wanting to have beats that sound a little bit more harder edged, right? And so I'm thinking like more distortion, right? So that's a big part of the sound, is like adding kind of dirt and thickness and weight and distortion. But anyway, that's where this comes from. And alrighty, let's get over here to the main. I can't believe, did I just say alrighty? I'm sorry. Here we are in Ableton Live, and this is where it started. Uh-oh, there's some noise that was not there before. Stream malfunction. It sounds cool though, right? Let's see what happens when you bring in the kick drum. Oh, we're getting feedback. Hey guys, I'm gonna have to do a little tech support here. We'll be right back. Sorry about this. Okay, now actually, that there was this like high frequency digital crazy trippy thing going on, and it was totally because the audio interface was going out of sync or something. It actually did sound cool from a, I was talking about distortion and using effects as like, instruments, and like that kind of accident, if it were from like using plugins and doing something on purpose, actually might be cool, especially if you're trying to be a little bit more experimental. In this case, it was my audio interface freaking out. So definitely needed to fix that. Anyway, we're back, and this is where we were. And we were talking, and it's kind of funny. Yesterday, Abe had he did some techno on his stream, which is totally cool, and he was using a particular plugin. The name just went out of my brain right now. Maybe one of you guys were watching yesterday. And it's designed to do like rumble with the kick, and it's like a chain of effects, and there's reverb, and you have specific controls. And it's the kind of thing that I would build myself in Ableton Live with a rack. Anyway, so we were talking about like he was putting reverb on his kick drum to get the rumble. I'm like, there's other ways to do that. And so this is where this came from. It's just, a bunch of random notes playing this is just a sine wave. And If any of you guys have been around from back at the Dubspot days, I did a couple of techno fundamental videos for Dubspot, and one of the things I did was playing a bunch of random notes without really caring what it was, and then quantizing that, and then using that to create a bass line. And this is kind of exactly the same thing. You can see here is it's just a bunch of notes down in a really low octave. And I don't care what notes they are. It was more just like playing around, and then I quantized it and I lengthened the notes a little bit, and then I just found 2 beats of that. The loop is just 2 quarter notes long, just to get the rumble that I want. I'm going to duplicate that. So it was just a little bit of this, like. And it's all dirty and noisy and weird because it's going through distortion. But I was going more for the rumble, right? So I didn't pick any of the ones where it has the high notes. Let's go back to the one that I liked. By the way, if you're listening on like small speakers or your laptop, you're not hearing any of this. They're just going to hear a little like dirt. You need to have good speakers or headphones to hear this bass right now. That's what it sounds like without all the distortion. And I added a little bit of overtones, adding, this is an FM synth, so I'm just using one of the waveforms to add a little bit more harmonics to it just to make it fatter. But then I wanted like catastrophic rumble. So that's what the distortion is there for. I'm already messing it up. You should hear it banging in here. It's crazy. All right, so we got some questions about this. Low single sine wave and operator. Yeah, it's a single sine wave, but I'm playing multiple notes. I mean, here, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you literally what I did to play this. All right, let's just solo this. You should see my hands. I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. All right. And then I recorded all that. Probably I don't need those high notes, but it's just it's a mess. Totally random. And you don't have to quantize it. Maybe you want to be a little weird. But I'm going to make the loop. Let's make the loop like 1 quarter note, for example. And see what happens with a kick drum. All right, that's too high. I got to go down. I might like move the start point around to get different pulsations, kind of change where the accent is. Let's make that 2 beats. All right, now that's not a rumble, but that was me doing some high notes kind of randomly. That sounds crazy. Gunter's asking about the kick drum. I was going to get to the kick drum. I'm not 100% sold on the kick drum for this. I was being kind of quick and dirty about it. There's 2 kick drums. There's a real short knock, which is mostly what you're hearing. And then there's also a dirty, the kick drum's not a big boomy kick. It's like a punch. And most of the bass is coming from the rumble. That sounds pretty tight like that. And then I have a second kick that's a little brighter and a little sharper. Anyway, so that's how we did it. Let me go back to this weird one that I just... All right, those are too high. Let's bring them down. And there's all sorts of rules being broken here, like multiple sine waves playing chromatically and just stacked all at once. It's going to be phasey, it's going to be weird, but I want that. I want it to be like rough and dirty and strange. And then I'm going to, get the vibe that I want and then punch it up with effects, which is what's happening here. And also both the kick and the bass are going through this drum bus, which is like, let's hear it without that. It's flabby without that. So you have to have this to get that feeling of everything's kind of thick and crunched up together and sounding like it's about to break. There's a lot of energy, barely contained energy in there. And then that was just like one little spot of this. Oh, I like this. What? Oh, be careful with your lengths. That's ridiculous. It's like whoop, 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 whoop. Oh. I'm getting excited. I'm knocking my mic around. And like where the start point is makes a big difference. So who needs a reverb for rumble? I'm making a rumble by just putting a bunch of low frequency sine waves together and playing with them. And you can hear, if you've got good speakers or good headphones, you can hear as I change this position around, it's changing the phase of the low frequencies from this rumble thing and the kick, and sometimes it sounds thinner and sometimes it sounds fatter, and that's the kind of thing you got to be careful about when you do something like this, because you might end up making something hollow. You don't want hollow, right? That sounds like triplets or 6/8 or something. All right, let's go back to the one that I settled on earlier. Yeah, that's more tight and rumbly. There's probably fewer notes going on at the same time as well. And you can also put reverb on this too if you want more of a whooshy thing. I mean, I have a reverb just on the kick drums for some space. And then for the arrangement, for fooling around, I put a high-pass filter that I can bring in and out for different sections. All right, so that was the first step. Doing this kind of, alternative technique for a rumble, like rolling kind of subby rumble bass for a hard techno track that does not rely only on reverb, which I like. Then we got into some percussion. I'm just like it's just like an overview of the lesson that we had the other day. Using Live's DS hi-hat just to add like a thin, bright 16th note on top. Now, it's got a little bit of a groove to it. Oh, Live Society has a sub pack. You can feel it? Good. All right, I mean, we started just with straight, right? Sounds almost like a shaker, right? It's kind of soft. And that might be the vibe you want too. It's a little more typical to hear like a straight hi-hat like this. Like 16 note, not like groovy up and down, but I like things to bounce a little bit. So change some velocity and duplicate a couple times. Now it's got a little bit more of a bounce. And then maybe add a couple of accents here and there. Now the hi-hats or the shaker or whatever this is telling a bit more of a story over 4 beats. It's progressing a little bit. All right, that's got some delay on it. But in the beginning, I was just like, I want the open hi-hat, the upbeat hi-hat, like the 909 kind of style thing. But not use a 909. And that's another thing that I was thinking about. And that was like, we have these classic drum sounds that we use over and over again. But you want to sound kind of, find your own sound or sound modern. It kind of makes sense to reach out and use other drum sounds. So like, techno and house, for me, yeah, classic techno has classic sounds in it, but also, and a lot of people are into 90s techno again nowadays. And that's what we use. We have like 909 drum machines and things like that. But now if you want to sound a little bit more modern, maybe think about other types of sounds and just reach out and try anything really. I think this particular sound, this is from like some acoustic live, like a preset in the live library. And I'm like, it's not an amazing sound, but it's okay. It fits in the context. It doesn't have the same kind of flavor as a 909 open hi-hat or whatever, or even a closed. It's more like a closed hi-hat, isn't it? But it sounds different. And that's what I wanted. I wanted different. And then I'm just using a lot of effects right from the outset. Like, the sound by itself is dark, and it's clanky. I wanted a little clanky, kind of industrially, sort of metallic, like I'm hitting a pipe or something. And now I'm using Redux for distortion from sample rate reduction. We've got the erosion, adding a little sizzle on there, some EQ, and then just for a little bit more rhythmic, like another layer of rhythm, just a simple dotted eighth delay. And then for some variation, sweeping around and adding a little stereo imagery, we got our offset stereo phaser. And that's it. Yeah, so it was, taking a simple sound, but then adding a lot of character to it and having it move and using effects from the beginning when you're building a techno track, like using effects from the beginning to have it be like part of the instrument. And then, of course, you can play with those effects, right? You can tweak the parameters. And even if you're just using one-shot drum samples in techno, like the atmosphere and the movement of that sound can really enhance and make a track more interesting over time than just hearing exactly the same sample repeated every time. Now it's got some movement and life in it. William Mindreaders is back. Hey, what's up? Nice to have you here. Welcome. Acid Bat says he liked the groovy shakers better. Okay. I do too. I like the groovy shakers better. And and they're in there. Together with the hi-hat. With the upbeat kind of simple. Okay. How we doing? I can't believe it's almost halfway through already. I feel like I'm just getting started. When you cut the lows out of the kick, you really hear all of the rumble. Look at that. It's like no dynamics whatsoever. I probably need to work on that a little bit. Like you do need to, you want your drums to punch, right? But maybe we'll address that when we do the final mix down. For right now, I'm mixing as I go. I definitely, when I'm making music like this, I want the processing and the effects are so much a part of the composition process, and I don't want to stop and perfect. I don't care if that's wrong. I don't care if it's like, over compressed or whatever. I like how it sounds right now, so I am going to keep it. And if I need, if I test out the mix on the system later and I feel like, oh, the kick drum needs a little more punch, I'll go back and I'll be a little surgical about it and I'll adjust the mix and I'll have a little ducking going on and I'll bet a little transient shaping or whatever just to make it pop out. But right now I'm feeling it, and that's the most important thing. If you've got to be feeling it, right? It's got to have that energy and that attitude, especially for like the harder kind of stuff. All right. Next layer. All right. Thinking about, it's percussion, right? So much of techno, especially harder edge techno, is like rhythmic noise and atmosphere, and not necessarily about like melodies and harmonies and progression, right? it's a different kind of progression, and you don't have to worry about music theory or keys. It just has to sound cool. You still want to listen to the overall balance, right? But elements like percussion, you kind of ride the line between sounds that are percussive and sounds that are noises or instruments, other kinds of instruments. And then a percussion sound plus effects might be like one of the main elements that you play with in your track. And so I just started out going through a bunch of one-shot percussion randomly and just came across this kind of knocking sort of FX perk noise, right? And that's just easily usable in a track like this. And it sounds like a combination of a hi-hat and like someone knocking on the desk or something. And it sounds good try too. It's got a good energy. But let's, add some space, right? This is just behind my head. This is the, just the echo. And I do this all the time. Y'all have seen me do stuff like this before and talk about using delay as a kind of an instrument and playing with it. And the echo and the feedback become like another layer on top of that knocking percussion. And I could just do this for most of the track, making it brighter, making it darker. So simple, so easy. Techno is really easy, right? Until it's not. Getting the details right is the hard part. And actually imbuing it with the right feeling and attitude and uniqueness, that's even harder. Finding your own sound. I like that. Cool. All right, let's take a little breather. And what's going on in the chat? Supermarks says, Electro John wears glasses. I thought Techno John wore contacts. Oh, I see. Because I wore... I'm middle-aged and my eyes are starting to go. And some days things look crispy and clear and other days they don't. Especially like if I had a long night and I was a little tired and like I'm just, I don't know. Today I felt like I needed the glasses on, right? The screen was a little blurry. So it's not about electro or techno. And maybe I don't think I need contacts yet. These are really kind of for reading, like the or looking at a screen, like the distance. I'm farsighted. Like I don't need glasses when I'm driving or anything like that. I only need it if I'm looking at small text on a screen or at a book. So yeah, that's why. But anyway, I'm more professorly. I'm the techno professor with my glasses on, right? Because that's what we're doing today. We're banging it out. It's 343 TV, Selway Techno Saturdays, and brought to you by 343 Labs Music Production School in New York City and Berlin, and the whole shebang that we usually talk about every time. Actually. One of the things that's on my mind today, not only that, I'm just showing you some of what we talked about in this private lesson I did this week was, little kind of very early stages here, not anything official yet, but working on a new kind of mini online course for 343 Labs that's just techno. So it's going to be techno with me, just like this stream, right? But I think 6 classes. We're working out the curriculum, and we're gonna, we got to figure out like what genres to focus on, what's relevant right now, what's kind of generally interesting for different people. Won't get too deep into the subgenres, right? Oh, look at that reflection. Look at that, getting the green out of my glasses. So yeah, that's a little bit on my mind this week because we've been having meetings about it, and then I had this really great lesson with this new student. It was really fun, and this is what came out of it. So yeah, it's kind of all connected now. What's going on is so we will let you know more coming up in the near future about what's going on with this new course. In case some of you out there who've been following along on the stream for a while might be interested to do a techno specific production course with me. So. Anyway, enough about that. That's just a little sneak preview, kind of just a little bit of an idea about what's coming. And Lies Society says, I think that the blurriness adds to better techno. What knob you turn becomes a surprise. Well, yeah, when I was using the synth last week, sometimes I couldn't find the glide or the portamento because it was blurry or whatever. Anyway. Oh, here's a good question from Ben Colts. Would 343 consider a music review stream once a week or month? Maybe. I think one of the I might do that. Like I would do with you guys, like my regular viewers who are producing techno or electro, right? I think that'd be great if we could absolutely. I'm happy to on my stream do a track feedback session, so we could totally do that. And then Tetro does the sample challenge, right, where people take a sound and then everybody does their track using that particular sample, and then they go over the tracks on live on the stream and then pick a winner. And there's usually a prize. So I don't know. I can't promise a prize, but one of these days, yeah, let's do something. We can set something up. Good idea. All right. Starting to think about getting back to making the music. Soul Machine says sounds like a locomotive. And absolutely, like this kind of rhythm. I mean, it's so repetitive. It's so heavy and machine-like. So, I wouldn't call this industrial techno exactly. It's not quite that vibe sonically, but it wouldn't take much to get it that way. I'm kind of going for something I want it banging, but still with some groove. You'll see there's some more stuff to come in the selection of sounds. But yeah, like that pushing forward locomotive, or you're on a rocket ship speeding through the universe, something like this music has that energy, and that's what you're kind of shooting for. Like this is a machine that is traveling at very high speed with a lot of momentum and a lot of weight, and it is not stopping. That's what we want. That sounds different now. Maybe it's a little bit much. Okay. So at this point, I was like, we've got this heavy groove, and you could make a whole DJ Tool track out of that. You could just be done. You could just make a short 4.5, 5 minute in and out, just high pressure beat for a DJ to play. That could be it, because there's enough effects to play with and enough elements to come in and out. I mean, you might want a little bit more. And we're thinking about the idea of like hooks in pop music has hooks. All kinds of music has like a catchy melody or a phrase or a sound or a chord progression or something an earworm, something that catches your ear. And when you have repetitive music, you need things to kind of catch your ear sometimes. Now, depending on how into it you are, something like this. Let's get back over to the main screen here. Something like this, where I'm just tweaking the filter on the. That could be your thing. That could be your main element, because that's what's changing and that's what's progressing over top of this heavy groove, right? Like that could be one of your main elements. And there's plenty of drummy, heavy techno that just has stuff like that. That's just noises tweaking around. And then maybe in the break, you bring up the feedback, and you cut the bass out. Like that could be your build-up right there. And you put a limiter on that so you don't kill somebody. But maybe you want some other element, right? And then at this point, it's like what you add on top of this it's going to change the vibe if you're not careful. Or it might change the vibe in a way that you didn't expect, or it might change, if you're thinking about adding like a synth to it or some kind of pad to it or like a melody on top or a vocal sample or more drums or whatever, like this is, I've established the foundation. I've got this heavy groove going, and I this is the vibe I want, but now I want the ear candy or the thing that sticks in your head. And what you choose here is going to kind of be genre dependent, right? Like if you're going for maybe more, I don't know, dare I say it, business techno, like a little more commercial, this already might be a little rough and raw for that, but maybe not. Maybe if you put like a catchy vocal sample or something a little more melodic on top with, like, you could do like a melody with a nice synth sound, and then that's going to make it a bit more accessible to different people that aren't as into the underground, darker kind of hypnotic sound, right? I'm not doing that today. Although I did pull out, I was like, all right, I have this acapella sitting here. What if I could use vocals? But it was more like not to say a word or a phrase or a melody, but like use vocal-like sounds as a rhythmic / hooky kind of element. So, since I was going to do the other one first, but since I mentioned it, this is what I came up with. Just a chopped up little loop from an acapella. And for people of a certain age, it's a very famous song. I doubt if anyone could recognize it from that little chop. I'll wait a little bit before I show you what it is. But that little chopped vocal is like a hook. And then it doesn't have to repeat all the time. And I thought about adding like a big blaster reverb on it, and that makes it stand out. And you could approach using it in a couple of ways. I could have it just drop in every now and then take it away. And it becomes like an accent. It becomes like a thing that just splashes in there and catches your attention while other stuff's going on. Or I can bring it in as a repetitive rhythmic element, which I think for this style of track makes more sense, because I'm kind of going for this hard groove, like rumbling, rolling, but with a little bit of funk on top with the syncopation. All right. Anybody? Oh, here we go. Thanks, Live Society. A good example of how you don't even need a complete work to make a hook. Yes, that's right. With techno, it doesn't work for every kind of music, for sure. All right. Putting a little, and that's another little example of just using simple effects as variation every now and. I have an idea. Let's make this. I might just mess it up, but I was trying to think of. I've been just using basically live devices on this, but I recently got the update, the Arturia FX3 update, and I featured Fragments before on a stream doing electro, and Fragments is part of the FX3 update. And I was thinking, what if I glitched this little chop out a little bit more? Now, what I'm doing to make that chop is literally just. And this is just how I work. I work with loops like this in Ableton Live all the time, like drum loops and everything. Is I'll find a little piece that I like, and then I'll go into the clip envelopes, and just use. I'll draw in on the grid like little cuts, right? So I can kind of chop in, transform in on that loop. So, it's like vocal chop, sort of glitchy, right? If I do smaller values like 16 note, 30-second notes, it's going to start sounding a little bit more glitchy. But then I just jumped into my head to like try fragments on this. So it might mess it up completely, but I wanted to just throw in a little bit of something from Arturia. They've been so good to us. They just sent us the Mini Brute 2 and is it the Mini Brute? Oh my god. And then hooked us up with all these plugins and everything. So uh-oh. Be right back. Live crash. Okay, forget fragments. It just crashed. That was like an omen. That was an omen. All right. I'm sorry, Arturia. All right, we'll come back to that another day. Let's just keep going with what's working right now. And I won't go into chopping up the vocal any further. But I will spill the tea on exactly what this this vocal is, which is kind of funny. Some of you, at least I know one person in the chat that will definitely know what this is. No YouTube copyright strikes, please. Hopefully it won't. I'm going to talk over it to confuse the algorithms. But let's see. That's what it is. Confusion, and that's like that. There was a very, very famous remix of this in the 90s, a techno remix of Confusion that was just amazing. So I probably shouldn't be using it. It just happened to be available and I wanted an easy, cool little vocal to chop, and that's what I got. And you can't really tell what it says. But now I've let the cat out of the bag, so if I ever release this track, you all know. Okay, so another way I was looking at this was doing the same kind of thing, but with a drum loop, right? And I was thinking like another level of energy to add on top of it that's also percussive. And I reached into some breakbeat samples just to find little pieces of them that didn't sound like funky, breaky kind of beats, but just for the texture. And I've done this before when I did a similar style. So same idea, right? I've got this loop. And again, real simple little chop. And I'm looping 1/4 note of this. So it's just that, which is really repetitive. And that works. But I like it with the little syncopated cut. That makes it a little bit more grooving, right? And then it sounds a little soft. So just like with that acoustic hi-hat that I had, I'm gonna brighten it up and give it a little bit more power with some distortion. It's resonant now. It's got a little bit of a ring to it, a little more metallic. So that's definitely adding to the energy level. And just, I could arrange this and build it up and break it down, bringing these things in and out. And then this happened. Now it sounds more like congas. It is congas, but like it's getting a bit more in the tribal direction, percussive, techno direction, right? I love this. It's like it changes the vibe, but it doesn't take away the energy. So if I was going more for the kind of heavier freight train feel, I would just pick this one. Did you catch it? Wait, it did that one loud hit and then went into the loop? Let's try that again. I'm going to use that in the arrangement. Maybe even automate a little bit of reverb with that. Let's try it. I'm going to go into the mixer, reverb send, and then we're going to put in a little bit of reverb just on that first hit where it starts. Yes. Easy techno tricks. I love it. All right, maybe I can put them. They can go together. I'm going. I'm into it. I'm like going in the right direction. And anyway, I'm just kind of showing you that like what's hooky about it is it's still repetitive and rhythmic, but it's adding like things that catch your ear, right? So it's functioning as like what a hook or an earworm does in a more, song-oriented style of music. It's doing that. But of course, we might want some non-percussive elements as well. So I was playing around with like, it could be effects or ear candy, things that come in and out. And I thought about that. Like it's just like this metallic synth stab with a bunch of reverb on it. And I wouldn't repeat that all over the place. I would just have that come in every now and then. White noise. I just picked a random kind of cool sounding sample from the library. I might go back and make my own kind of thing, but this one's working. And I don't care that it's from I don't care that it's a preset from the library. I don't. It sounds awesome. I'm going to use it. Maybe I'll jazz it up, put some effects on it. So yeah, you don't have to make every single sound, but you can like use it in your way and tweak it in your way. So definitely going in the right direction. In the beginning, I was trying to avoid typical 909-like or 909 sounds, but the one thing that I will almost, not 9 times out of 10, let's say 75% of the time with this style, I like using a 909 ride. It just is, it doesn't, you can't lose with it. It's just adding that little shiny layer on top. Now there's other ways to do it, and you could use different types of ride cymbals or noise or whatever to get that same kind of effect, but this just always, I don't know, maybe I just need to like EQ it and put some effects on it. I usually kind of like to polish it up a little bit. Right now it's just straight out of the preset. It works. Add a little variation in there. Cool. I also thought about what if I wanted to take this in a little, like still energetic, but deeper direction, more hypnotic direction. So I broke out this mono sequencer, and this is just going into a collision preset. It's like a physical modeled bell kind of metallic ringy thing. And still working on this one, but just to give an idea of where you might go with this, to go in kind of a not darker, but like moodier, more atmospheric direction. Now it's hypnotic techno. And that could have been any synth, any kind of melodic pattern. I could do something more kind of sawtooth wave or whatever, or square wave, or anything really, as long as it fits with the rhythm. And it doesn't matter, again, I don't know what key I'm in. I just followed my ears. What happens? What if I mess this up? Let's see what happens. Just randomly changing them. I don't care what the notes are. I'm doing polymetric. It's 5 or 6 steps. Let's make it more straight. You know, that might be more to your liking. That's definitely more pushing forward when it's not doing the polymetric thing where it's going out of sync, so to speak. Now I'm using the keyboard to transpose that pattern. And there you could have your sort of harmonic progression. It's like kind of a totally different vibe now, right? Didn't change the beats, it still has energy. But it's, you know, it's mental now. What? All right. What's this one? I forgot. A little more pleasant sound, right? The other one was tense. It was like making me a little edgy. This one is, you know, warm. It's fitting in a frequency range that practically nothing else is in. And it's definitely taking it in a deeper. It's putting effects on it, kind of dubs it out. It's functioning as a chord stab. It's a stab sample. It's from a synth drum pack. So it has this kind of detuned ringiness to it, like percussion would, but it also has a nice chord, right? So totally takes the vibe in a different direction, right? Let's bring it back up. I like that better, I think. Right now, this is what I was feeling. This is where we started. I would definitely get down to this. And this is, you know, with the right mix, and I'm pretty sure the mix is in the ballpark. It needs to be polished, but I can knock out an arrangement of this today and have it pretty much mixed. Give it a couple hours, it's ready, I think. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save this as it is, and I'm going to take this, and next time, maybe next week or maybe 2 weeks, it depends, but we'll bring this back and we'll like finish it, right? I think we could mostly arrange this and maybe not mix it, even though, you know, we'll see. We can mostly arrange this in one session. So I feel like I've got everything I need. And I could make 2 tracks out of this, right? I could make the more upbeat, energetic, kind of bouncy, tribal-y version. And then I could do, you know, side B, dark, mysterious, hypnotic, weird, whatever, but still having that rolling groove underneath. I feel like today was a fun day, even with the interruptions, with the technical issues, with my audio interface being weird. I don't know. It was crazy. But Thanks to everyone for hanging out today. This has been fun. And yeah, Ben Colt, Martin Crockett, William Mindreader, Simple Sam, Soul Machine, Felix Patek, David Bora. Do I have to read everybody? Will Joseph. I'm just going up the list. Pump Tactics, Acid Bat, Josh Holiday. Hey, there's John H. Kingston III. Didn't see you earlier. And Wispa. Yeah, you were in here right in the beginning. There's a few more of you. Live Society, Peter Paws. And all right, that's going to be it. I'm going to say goodbye to you guys today. Thanks so much. I will see y'all again next week. And, it 50-50 on whether we're going to do electro or whether we keep working on this. We'll see. Depends on what comes up this week. All right, guys. Have a good one. Adios.
99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.99.